Hello again, and welcome to the greatest feuds of the golden age of wrestling. Today we are focusing on Ravishing Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior feud. The rivalry between Ravishing Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior in the WWF during 1989 to 1990 is considered one of the most memorable feuds of that time. It all began with the iconic Super Pose Down at the Royal Rumble in 1989 and culminated in their epic encounter at SummerSlam 90, where they battled inside the legendary blue steel cage for the prestigious WWF Heavyweight Championship. Let's delve into their greatest matches as we relive this historic rivalry. Without a doubt, the Ultimate Warrior holds a prominent place in the annals of WWE history. During the late 1980s and early 90s, he stood as the second most popular babyface in the company, just behind Hulk Hogan. Although he was not known for his technical skills in the ring, Warrior made up for it with his larger-than-life persona, distinctive appearance, and unparalleled charisma. His muscular physique, painted face, and wild energy set him apart from the rest. Rick Rude, on the other hand, possessed a unique and extraordinary talent as a wrestler. He was famously known as Ravishing, and deservedly so. With an impressive repertoire of moves, striking appearance, stylish attire, and unmatched confidence, he proved his worth inside the ring. However, his extravagance extended beyond the wrestling arena. The art of deliberately provoking hatred appears to be diminishing in modern-day wrestling, but it has proven to be effective for many decades in the past. Ravishing Rick Rude was one of the most skilled individuals at eliciting a genuine and intense reaction from the audience. These two men started their feud at the Royal Rumble '89 in a Super Pose Down. Once the Ultimate Warrior and Ravishing Rick Rude are in the ring, Heenan ingratiates himself with the audience as he is aware that they will determine the victor. Rude is given the opportunity to select the initial round and chooses a double bicep pose. The crowd does not find it impressive. Warrior then takes his turn, and indeed, his arms are larger. Jesse awards the round to Rude based on his posing technique. Heenan desires the audience to be impartial and refrain from voting solely based on personal preferences. Up next is the best abs competition. Rude applies oil to his body to enhance the visibility of his abs and also incorporates hip movements. This has generated quite a bit of excitement among the female spectators. However, the crowd is still in favor of Warrior. It is widely acknowledged that Rude possesses superior abs. Rude utilizes a flex bar to energize himself while Heenan requests for 15 minutes. The audience expresses their disapproval and Rude eventually gives in. The following pose is the most muscular. Heenan then reminds everyone in Houston that they are loved. Jesse comments on Warrior's lengthy hair, making it difficult to see his traps. Once again, the crowd shows their support for Warrior. In the final round, Rude performs push-ups and shows off his strength with the bar. It's a medley of poses, also known as a muscular montage, according to Gene. Monsoon points out that the crowd has made their decision and it's clear that Rude is being booed out of the building. Suddenly, Warrior is blindsided by a hit from the bar, which Rude then uses to choke him. Gorilla is enraged while Jesse declares Rude as the winner. Despite being attacked, Warrior manages to get back on his feet and unleashes his fury on the referees and officials in the ring before sprinting backstage. Upon reviewing the replay, it becomes evident that Rude struck him forcefully in the back of the head. Next time they meet is at WrestleMania 5 for the Intercontinental Heavyweight title. The Ultimate Warrior is the champion going into the match. The Warrior began the match with a series of powerful maneuvers. This caught the attention of the crowd, as Warrior was considered one of the biggest up-and-coming stars in the company. He repeatedly whipped Rude into the turnbuckles before applying a bear hug. The camera zoomed in on the back of Rude's tights, which prominently featured Warrior's face. In today's wrestling, I don't often see bear hug spots anymore. Rude managed to fight his way out and delivered a missile dropkick. Warrior quickly broke free from a pinfall attempt and executed a couple of body slams. Another bear hug followed, which was quite uneventful. Rude resorted to biting to escape the hold, and Warrior retaliated by biting him back. Warrior then performed a back body drop. However, his attempt at a splash was thwarted by Rude's well-placed knees. Rude executed a move that was initially called a neck breaker by Gorilla, who rarely makes mistakes when identifying moves. Using the ropes for leverage, Warrior managed to break free from a submission hold inflicted by Rude. He followed up with a flying shoulder tackle and a face buster. Unfortunately, his execution of a backbreaker was sloppy, causing Rude to slip out of his grasp as they crashed into the ropes near the turnbuckle. That was an uncomfortable situation. The Warrior executed a clothesline and forcefully propelled Rude into the turnbuckle, followed by a shoulder block once again. Another forceful throw into the corner, the Warrior attempted a splash, but Rude cleverly evaded it, causing the Warrior to crash into the corner instead. Rude then tried to execute the Rude Awakening neckbreaker, but the Warrior managed to resist and countered with, you guessed it, a clothesline. Rude rolled out of the ring, but the Warrior swiftly threw him back in, only to clothesline him out of the ring once more. The Warrior then suplexed Rude back into the ring, but Heenan intervened by grabbing the Warrior's foot. Taking advantage of the distraction, Rude fell on top of the Warrior, and the referee counted the pinfall without noticing Heenan's interference. This result was enough for Rude to secure the victory. The Warrior would have to wait until SummerSlam '89 for a rematch. The Warrior's offensive skills are also impressive, effectively showcasing his anger over being cheated out of his championship belt at WrestleMania 5. I would argue that this is one of his finest overall performances, and Rude's exceptional performance only enhances it. Eventually, Heenan manages to divert Warrior's attention when he climbs to the top rope, resulting in Rude gaining the upper hand and dominating him. While selling was not necessarily Warrior's strong suit, he manages to hold his own for the most part, and Rude's attacks are all executed flawlessly, including an outstanding snap suplex at one instance. Warrior makes the occasional attempt at fighting back, but every time he does, Rude has some kind of an answer, including a sleeper hold when Warrior manages to block a Rude Awakening. Both Tony and Jesse are fantastic on commentary here as well, with Jesse openly cheering on Rude and Tony doing everything he can to get Warrior over. Warrior manages to break out of the sleeper hold, but both men collide after that and take the referee out in the process. Warrior makes the comeback following that, no-selling Rude's offense and firing off his usual array of clotheslines before getting a big power slam, but there is no referee to count. I like that because it shows that Warrior had the bout won fairly. So even though the match has the finish it does, Warrior had originally won it himself regardless of what happens next. Warrior gets a piledriver following that, which gets a 2 count from the revived ref. Warrior receives a fist drop from the top rope, prompting the arrival of Roddy Piper. As Piper was in a feud with Rude at the time, Rude makes the mistake of berating him. In response, Piper pulls down his pants, infuriating Rude and causing him to remain unaware that Warrior has regained his strength. Warrior then raises Rude up for a gorilla press that he holds for a good few seconds longer than usual, then dumps him on his face. He then finishes with a big splash to secure the win, resulting in an ecstatic crowd response. And there we have it, Warrior regains the title for the second time in his career. Next up, we find ourselves at a Saturday night main event in 1990, and some time has passed since Rude and Warrior have seen each other in the ring, as Rude had been embroiled in a feud with Piper. Unfortunately, the picture quality is absolutely rubbish in this event, so I will make it as quick as I can. The confrontation begins with aggressive attacks from Rude, as Warrior retaliates by overpowering him in the corner and throwing him into the turnbuckles multiple times. Warrior proceeds to stomp on Rude and executes an atomic drop, followed by a clothesline that forces Rude out of the ring. Warrior continues his assault on Rude outside the ring before bringing him back in for another clothesline. However, instead of capitalizing on his advantage, Warrior decides to climb the top rope and deliver a double axe handle, but unfortunately misses the subsequent big splash. Seizing the opportunity, Rude seizes the belt while Bobby distracts the referee, allowing Rude to lay out Warrior on the floor. Once back in the ring, Rude climbs the turnbuckle, only to be intercepted by Warrior on his way down. This sets up Rude's obligatory atomic drop cell, as required by their contract. Despite this setback, Rude regroups and continues his relentless attack on Warrior, focusing on his back. However, Rude fails to slam Warrior and resorts to applying a sleeper hold instead. The Warrior stages a comeback, using his signature clotheslines and a powerful splash. However, Bobby interrupts the pin and a brawl ensues on the arena floor. The Warrior continues to pummel Rude, lifting and slamming him outside the ring. Then he goes back inside the ring. Bobby is on the receiving end of a beating. Eventually, Rude is counted out. The last match of this feud is probably by far the best, as we move on to SummerSlam '90, where the quality of the footage is much, much better. Again, I can only apologize for the quality of the last match. The bout commences as Warrior ascends over the cage's top rather than entering through the door, prompted by Rude's provocation for a confrontation. Warrior energetically leaps about on the top rope, resembling an eager child anticipating the moment when Rude will face the other way and provide an opportunity for a flying sledgehammer strike. One noteworthy aspect of this narrative is that Warrior is participating in his inaugural cage match, whereas Rude has prior experience. While Warrior had previously competed in cage matches during live events, this televised encounter truly marks his first, making it a convincing premise. Piper criticizes Warrior's tassels, referring to them as the most foolish thing I've ever witnessed. He even suggests that Rude should tie Warrior to the cage using those tassels. However, Warrior starts off strong and dominates the match. Vince points out that it would require some time to actually tie Warrior up. Piper also mocks Warrior's fuzzy boots. One positive aspect of Piper's commentary is that you can clearly tell when he doesn't like someone if you pay attention. Rude gets injured early on, but he sees an opportunity to escape and tries to take it. However, Warrior manages to prevent him from doing so without completely stopping him. He effectively persuades Rude to reconsider his decision to escape for now. Roddy actually does a commendable job in his commentary for this particular match. He effectively explains and conveys the intense nature of a cage match while keeping unnecessary gimmicks to a minimum. Although there is still some gimmickry involved, it is not excessive. Warrior ends up bleeding during the match. Rude attempts to execute the Rude Awakening move, but there is a fierce struggle as Warrior eventually overpowers him in the upper body and counters with a clothesline. However, Rude manages to raise his knees in time to block a splash from Warrior. Undeterred, Rude immediately goes for another Rude Awakening and successfully executes it this time. It appears that there are specific rules in place for this situation, as Vince mentions that Rude should cover him. However, Rude decides to defy those rules by climbing all the way to the top of the cage and leaping off with the sledgehammer. Heenan, on the other hand, opens the door and urges Rude to leave, declaring that it's over. Despite this, Rude chooses to go back up to the top, but this time he stops just short of reaching the top and is met with a punch to the stomach from Warrior. Warrior then attempts to exit through the door, his paint peeling off his nose in a less than ideal manner, only to have Heenan slam the door on his head. Rude does manage to cover Warrior for a pinfall, but it only results in a 2 count. With Rude halfway out of the cage and Heenan attempting to pull him through the door, Warrior pulls Rude back in from the other side, unintentionally exposing Rude's entire backside. Heenan is yanked in and receives a powerful right hook, staggering as wildly as he possibly can. Heenan also endures an atomic drop and tumbles out through the exit. Warrior goes on a rampage with his clotheslines, leaving Piper thoroughly perplexed by Warrior's arm-pumping gesture. He executes a gorilla press slam, and now Warrior is scaling over the ropes, successfully making it and holding on to the championship. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the video. I have to go now, so you all have a wonderful day and thanks for spending some time with me. See you on the next one.